Okay, this is part 3 of today's lecture, and this is the second part of my discussion of the Suite de Merlin. And I'd like to focus in particular on the character of Vivienne and specifically her hate of Merlin. I had mentioned just in the last segment that she develops this relationship with Lancelot, which is kind of a cue to later episodes that we'll address later in this class. But for as far as her character within this text, I wanted to focus on her relationship to Merlin and the extent that she goes to kind of take advantage of him, but also eventually trap him, possibly kill him. So one key scene is this Lake of Diana scene. This is on page 365 and 366. And when they come to this place, this very deep lake, Merlin describes the significance of it. And he tells this story, which is supposed to be an ancient story. It says, Diana lived in the time of Virgil, a long time before Jesus Christ came to earth to save sinners. This is in the middle of page 365. She had hunted in all the forests of France and Brittany. Immediately, we should think of the goddess Diana, because we're talking about a time before Virgil, the Roman poet. The goddess Diana was an important character. She was a virgin huntress, and she's even the one who appears to Brutus in Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the British Kings, and it provides the prophecy to Brutus about the new Troy that will be established in Britain, or this Isle of Albion that he travels to at that point. And the new Troy will be eventually London. So she makes this prediction. So Diana is very much associated in interesting ways with Arthurian legend. But she isn't described as the goddess Diana, but she's very much reminiscent of Diana, the goddess Diana here being described as a huntress. So there's this rivalry between these two characters, Faunus and Felix. And without getting into all of the details, I think it's... Just lost my notes here. I think it's interesting for the way that it's described as kind of a scene of what I would call like fantasized violence. So essentially, it says, this is at the top of page 366, or towards the top, it says, Diana loved Felix so much. Oh, there's my dog. You can hear my dog, Charlie. It's the mail carrier at the door who he loves so much. I made you to stop this for a second while he barks away. No, I think we'll be okay. So, maybe not, but I'll just keep going. So, it says, Diana loved Felix so much that she would have paid with her life to have him in her bed, and so she decided to kill Faunus, either with poison or in some other way. Now, this grave that you see here was already in existence at the time. It was ordinarily full of water, and there was a stone slab covering it. An evil sorcerer named Demophon, who lived in this land, had given the water the power to heal the wounds of those that had bathed in it. So you see that there's this parallel story, this kind of pre-history to what's going to happen between Vivienne and Merlin. And so, Faunus comes back from hunting, and so there's this, because Demophon had created this wound healing water, he assumed that he would be okay coming back from the hunt with this wound, but she's like, oh, actually, it's all gone. And so Faunus dies. And so when Felix returns, this is towards the bottom of 366, it says, Faunus, who would never have thought that she intended to betray him, said that he would do whatever she ordered. He lay down naked in the grave, and the stone was placed over him. It was so heavy that he could not possibly have pushed it back without help from above. So again, this is presaging what is going to happen to Merlin. Then Diana, who was determined to be done with him, flooded the tomb with molten lead that she had ready so that he died instantly, burned to the very entrails. And when she had put Faunus to death, she came to Felix and said, I have freed myself of the man you feared. And she told him how she had done it. And when he told her this, he's like, that's awful that you did that to somebody. And so he drew his sword and cut off her head. And so her body is thrown into the lake, and this is called the Lake of Diana. I think this scene is interesting, not only for what it reflects about the future for Merlin, but also what the commentary that it might provide on what Vivienne does to Merlin, which is that this is not an act that is deemed acceptable, and also it's one that could cause her pain later on. We don't actually see any negative consequences for Vivienne later on, but she certainly is. I think there's a hint that there's some negative consequences for in the future. So, of course, my dog Charlie is barking through this entire thing. I hope you're able to hear most all of that. So this kind of fantasized violence, this scene also obviously it gives Vivienne an idea of what to do in the future, but it's told in such a way as to maybe question the way that she does it. She also takes advantage of Merlin, which we find out on page 367, has him build this beautiful invisible home for her. Okay, so now I'd like to move to just more about Merlin and really his power of prophecy, because I think it's interesting that for much of the prose Merlin, he's described as a character who seems to be kind of impervious to any sort of, anyone wanting to do him ill will, right? I mean, these barons, these counselors of Uther are trying to, don't trust him, and so he has to go and explain how this one particular counselor is going to die in 3 different ways. And so Merlin is always showing himself to be right, and he's always knowing what's going to happen and what happened in the past. But we find out, and this is on page 368, that in the middle of 368, he says, apart from my own life and death, he said, I can still foretell almost everything, but where I myself am concerned, I am so bound by enchantments that I am helpless, for I cannot undo the spells unless I am willing to lose my soul. But I would much rather let my body be destroyed through someone's treachery than let my soul be damned. So this is interesting in that it not only lets us know that there are limits to his power, but also that he is concerned about his soul, right? So his body is subject to, destruction, but his soul, which has been baptized, he's not willing to sell it, right? He's not willing to take this part which has kind of been established as his Christianized part and sell it to the devil, right? He's going to make sure that he remains a virtuous character. It may sound like I'm trying to defend Merlin, and I don't entirely want to do that, but I think that his character is described in such a way that I think he's not only is the power of his prophecy complicated, but also I think the lust that he has for Vivienne is also somewhat, balanced. Maybe not quite balanced, but at least supplemented by these more sympathetic, possibly sympathetic descriptions of him. Okay, so on 369, and of course he tells her all of this, and it says, this revelation made the young lady very happy, as she longed for nothing else so much as Merlin's death. And so it became clear to her, oh, well, he's never going to find out how I'm going to kill him, so I can do that. Well, on 369, she says to him, she tries to convince him to go to Britain, and he knows that he knows enough to know that there's something wrong is going to happen once he gets to Britain. So I think I'll stop at this point for our third segment, and that'll lead us into our last one for the lecture today.